on your screen.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Julie and Faith. So we'll now get into the business rules. And district business rules will vary. We get calls sometimes from teachers wondering, do I have to, should um, I have done an SLO or should I do an SLO? And what we do, we point teachers back to the business rules. So these business rules pretty much help you determine who completes an SLO in your school. All right, so SC business rules around SLO development. All educators, tested and non-tested grades and subjects are required to develop and implement at least one SLO annually as a student growth measure. Now, districts do have the autonomy and the flexibility to assign or have educators complete more than one SLO, but we highly recommend at the state level to not have educators complete more than one SLO annually. Educators can develop either an individual or team SLO. The type should be determined by the individual teacher's needs, teaching circumstances, and student needs. Educators can take either of these approaches to SLO development, either course or class. The approach should be the one that is most appropriate for the educator's context and circumstances. So here are the required conferences uh, that should occur throughout the SLO process, right? The preliminary conference, the mid-course conference, and of course, lastly, the summative conference. And later on in this training, we'll discuss the timing of these conferences along with what should happen during these conferences. Minimum number of students. Some teachers support students in a service delivery model that will make it challenging to write SLOs. For this purpose, 6 students should be included in the student population of the SLO. If a teacher is responsible for less than 6 students, he or she should contact the building principal for guidance on whether or not they will be expected to write the SLO. And like Julie mentioned earlier, one contract level teachers who are continuing GBE. This is one growth goal for them that could be including their entire evaluation. So just something to keep in mind for those particular teachers. If they meet the business rules, then the SLO could be their professional growth goal. Teachers teaching multiple sections of the same course, but are electing to focus on the SLO on one section should select the class with the greatest number of students when possible. Also, additionally, if a teacher is an elementary generalist, we recommend for elementary teachers, if they teach math or reading, to focus on those areas for the SLO. SLO parameters. Okay, teachers must be present for 85% of the teaching interval. And if not, that would possibly make the SLO incomplete. Students involved in the SLO should be present for 75% of the teaching interval. And with COVID last year and how crazy things got with class rosters, some teachers were able to skip the SLO last year because they did not have 6 students present for 75% of the teaching interval. So some of those educators last year, teachers, were able to skip the SLO. We want you to know that the focus of an SLO should be academic and not behavioral. IEP goals can inform, but should not be used as the basis of the SLO goal. So let's look at SLOs and different types of teachers. Okay, induction contract teachers do write SLOs, but one thing we've done for induction teachers, we've allowed we give flexibility. It would be up to districts to allow teachers to complete the SLO the second semester. And this is simply because we're allowing that first semester for induction teachers to get acclimated to the teaching environment. And also with induction contract teachers, results are included in the evaluation and may also be included in personnel decisions. And I'm sorry, Julie, I did show you that graphic on how the SLO results are included in the entire evaluation process. Your annual and continuing contract teachers do write SLOs, of course, if they meet the business rules. And with those educators, results are also included in the evaluation and personnel decisions. Special education teachers. Now, this group of educators could be a little tricky. So it's important to ensure that you look at the business rules to ensure that if they do meet the business rules, then they, of course, would be able to write the SLO. And also, many of our special education educators would have some flexibility in the SLO approach due to the nature of their roles. So what we're going to do now, we're going to look at a small activity. We're going to go into breakout rooms, and Faye Colley is going to manage these breakout rooms, and we're going to spend, I think we're good with time. We're going to give you maybe 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes to look at these scenarios. And these scenarios are about different types of teachers and their roles, and the support that they give to either other teachers or how they work with students at the school level. And this is something that you're going to actually be doing as you manage the SLO process at your school, determining which teachers should complete which professional growth goal. So this document is accessible on the landing page that was sent to you in the initial email from Faye Colley. We're also going to drop the link to this document in the chat for you to have access. So when we dismiss you, we'll give you, again, about 5 to 7 minutes to just look at the document, look at each case, and generate your own response for each case study. And then after you generate your own responses, then we'll give you another 5 to 7 minutes to kind of collaborate and discuss your responses, and to, be able to share when we debrief this activity when we come back together.
Rodney, I am
Yes.
dropping the link in the chat. We do have a question from Melanie. Do you want to address that before we head out
Sure.
to breakout rooms,
Sure.
or wait till
Yeah.
the end of the morning session?
Is it about this activity?
It's actually a general question on when you were discussing earlier. And so the question is, what teachers are teaching out of area?
You were breaking up a little bit, Faye. I'm sorry. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Yeah, so I'll actually invite Melanie to come on the microphone so she can expound on her question. Melanie, go ahead.
Yes, I was asking, what if there's really two parts to it. I'm coming from an public charter school. So one area, and I'm new to this on the side of a leader. What if the teachers are teaching out of area? And that does happen sometimes in the traditional public school as well. And as you know, what about our non-certified teachers? Do they have to do the SLO process?
So what we're talking about today will be for certified educators.
Okay.
Now, districts and schools do have that autonomy to allow, other educators to complete an SLO, but it wouldn't have to be reported to the state.
Okay, and for those who are teaching out of area, maybe an elementary teacher doing special ed while she's going through some kind of program like Project Create, maybe, would they do those as well? They're certified just out of area.
I don't understand what you're saying. So they're working on certification for another area?
Yes, and you're allowed to teach in that area like Project Create with special education. And they're elementary certified, but not special ed certified. Where would they do their SLO if they're teaching us?
Yeah, they could do the SLO in that area, in the special ed area, if they've been given permission to work in that area.
All right, I think that was it. Melanie, if you're good, you may put your hand down, and if we're ready to proceed, I can send you all into breakout rooms.
And yeah, I'll just ask if anybody has any questions about, it's a pretty self-explanatory activity. You'll see it once you open up the document. But once Faye dropped the link, you can just look at it, and we'll just hang around. Or we'll just, right now, just open it up if you have any questions about what you have to do during your breakout room. All right, so if we don't have any other questions, it's 9:30 now. We'll give you a good 12 minutes. So we'll be back here in the main room at 9:42. So Faye will push you out, and she'll bring you back at about 9:42.
All right, our breakout rooms are opening. It is kind of automatic. We'll make sure to bring you back after 12 minutes. Okay. It is quite slow to send you out with Teams, so thank you for your patience. Hi, Joy. I'll assign you to a group. It's Teams is having a mind of its own, not letting me overburden it. So it's opening the rooms right now. Then once that's done, I should be able to add you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Okay.
Came in a little late. I had a meeting with a
No
district
problem.
assistant, so I apologize for being late.
No problem. I also see you, Wicilia.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
but for some reason, your name is not even showing on here as if I needed to. Quite interesting. Okay, well, this is what we'll do. We will make it work. I will work with you. Are you able to pull that document? And we'll have that, we'll do that scenarios activity together.
Okay, yes, I have it. Well, I think I have the right one.
Okay. So Joy, just stay here. For some reason, Teams is not allowing me to click your name and send you to a room. So the three of us could just be here. So,
Hey,
on the
Joy.
scenario.
Hey, Miss Cassidy. We work in the same district together.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, cool. That's really good. So let me see if I could even project it on here. And you might see your face for a little bit until I kind of adjust what I have. All right, so this is the scenario. And Joy, will you go ahead and just read the first part of this? Are you good with that? Per
Yep,
the
I have it printed
Yep.
out. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, per 592640, educators at the annual and continuing contract levels must establish an individual professional growth and development plan yearly. The SLO may serve as the teacher's PGDP if no South Carolina teaching standards indicators are scored as unsatisfactory during the summative or formative evaluation period. The GBE can serve as the PGDP for special area educators or other educators that do not meet SLO business rules. Do you want me to keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay. SLO business rules state all educators, tested and non-tested grades and subjects, are required to develop and implement one SLO annually as a student growth measure.
Awesome. And then Ms. Cassidy, could you
Yes.
read, please, our case one?
Okay, case one. Math interventionist mostly supports math teachers at the school level with instruction, planning, and PD. Also works with a small group of 7 third-grade students twice a week, focus on areas of weakness defined by the beginning of the year benchmark data. We'll work with this group until mid-year benchmark data is available, then we'll adjust groups for the second semester as needed. After the mid-year benchmark data is available, it is possible that the teacher will have fewer than 6 students for the second semester. What type of PGDP would you recommend this educator and why? If the educator does not have 6 students for the second semester, what could be a PGDP option for them if they work with 6 students during the first semester of school? If the educator ends up meeting the business rules for an SLO, what would be the appropriate type, team or individual?
All right, so I'll just let you both think on that, let it sink in. I'm not sure if there's a similar scenario in your district. So I'll give you some quiet time to think it through, and then we'll just share out like what your ideas are on this. All right, so that's our minute of quiet time. Either of you have any thoughts on this first scenario? And I know you'll have the opportunity to have the big debrief with Rodney, but I wanted to just check in if you have thoughts on this. It's really not a right or wrong answer, but really making sure, considering the scenario before making a decision on what path to place the teacher in. So maybe let's break it down on that first question. What type of PGDP would you recommend this educator and why? Would you put it on an SLO or a GBE?
Well, because, and this is my thoughts, I'm really new to this.
Yeah.
Because the math interventionists work with small groups, I would say more of a goal-based, because it's a special area. And then we don't know how many students the math interventionists will really end up with on the second semester. So because it's, considering the benchmark data. I don't know, just my thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is actually one possible thing to do. It's almost like Rodney wrote this about me. That was one of my roles. I was a math interventionist. I was actually supporting school level instruction planning and PD, work with small groups. Not just third grade, but I did third through fifth. And in my district at the time, I was actually given a goals-based evaluation. I think it's not about paperwork. It's really more embedded in what I was doing rather than with the changes of the number of students. And I didn't know who I was going to get every time because they were, either being moved up because they have already progressed enough not to be in the intervention class. So that totally makes perfect sense to me how you analyzed it that way. How about you, Joy? You have some thoughts on this? Maybe thinking on, are you also thinking about GBE or maybe more on the SLO? What are your thoughts?
I think I could make an argument for both. I agree with Ms. Cassidy, just because of the small number of students that she's dealing with and the inconsistency of how many kids that she might be working with, and that data is going to kind of change throughout the school year. I would probably lean towards a goals-based, but I also think an SLO would work as well because the teacher is consistently working with students. I think we could make an SLO work with that teacher because SLOs can change throughout the year, or we can
adjust it. You can adjust in the mid-conference.
That's right.
Yes.
You can make adjustments to the SLO throughout the year as well. And so I think it would be a great conversation to have with the teacher because they could have some input on what they feel would be, I don't know, most beneficial for them really, because that's the whole point of a GBE or an SLO is their growth. So which one,
Right.
So I think I could make an argument for either. I don't mean to sit on the fence, but I think
I actually love this conversation because this is what we were talking about. It's not a one size fits all. And I appreciate you mentioning bringing in the teacher's voice because it's not just you or, the school leadership saying this is the highway, the way or the highway. You have to listen to them and what would work best for their growth that would ultimately impact the students' growth. So in that line of thinking, were you thinking a team or individual SLO?
I would see a team. I could see a
Yeah,
team
the
SLO.
support.
Yeah, I could see a team SLO with the teacher and with the math interventionist in conjunction with the teacher that
Right.
is also teaching those students as well, because that teacher is also going to make an impact on the same set of students. So, yeah, we could make
That makes
that
sense.
work, I think.
All right. Well, this one we're gonna jigsaw this. I want to request Joy to think on educator 2, and Cassidy, if you can think on educator 3. That way we can maximize our time. So we kind of did something together, and now this is me letting you go on your own and think on it, and then we'll share. All right, so we won't likely have the chance to discuss this together, but again, Rodney will be leading a whole group debrief. So just keep your thoughts and keep thinking on it, and then we'll have that time later on for sharing. I enjoyed talking to you, ladies.
Thank you. Same
Thank
here.
you. Thank you for troubleshooting with us.
Right.
Oh, not a problem. You're welcome. All right, welcome back, friends. Rodney will be projecting shortly. I hope you had a productive conversation about the scenarios.
They look like they had a productive conversation. They
I
looked
know I had to
informed.
troubleshoot with 2 friends, and we had a wonderful time discussing in the video.
Yeah, we had a good group too. I can't complain. We had a
All
good group.
right. All righty. I can't see the participant list, but does it look like we have everybody back? Yep, I think so. All right. So quickly, we're going to, if I can find the document, we're going to just debrief this activity. All right, so let's look at the first scenario. This is educator 1. He or she is a math interventionist. They mostly support math teachers at the school level with instruction, planning, and PD. They also work with a small group of third grade students twice a week to focus on a weakness defined by the beginning of the year district benchmark assessment. The teacher will work with this group until halfway through the year, and then will adjust the groups using the mid-year benchmark data as needed. After the mid-year benchmark data is available, it is possible that the teacher will have fewer than 6 students for the second semester. Just don't know. All right. So what type of professional goal and development plan would you recommend for educator 1? And anybody feel free to hop on the mic. Which one and why?
We discussed an individual SLO for the first semester using the 7 students.
All right, because you knew that why? I'm sorry.
Well, due to the fact that the students will possibly change second semester and not knowing that she will meet the parameters of, having
Business
more than
rules.
6 students.
Right.
It's just better for her to go ahead and get it done now, knowing that she meets the criteria for first semester.
Good. Let's look at let's move on to the second one. The other two we'll skip over those because some of the answers are pretty much the same. Let's look at educator 2. She's a first-year kindergarten teacher. He is a first-year kindergarten teacher. This educator works mostly with the same 18 students for the entire school year. Like what typically happens, 1 or 2 students may leave during the year, and 1 or 2 may join the class roster later in the year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, this teacher did not have a traditional student teaching experience and may need some support. What type of professional goal development plan would you recommend for this educator and why?
I'll go ahead and share, Rodney.
Thank you.
So at first, I thought it would be good to have a team, but then after discussing this with Rodney and the others in the group, an individual would be best, because she is a first-year teacher, so we'd really want to focus on her students in particular. We also said possibly a team SLO, so she'd have the support of her colleagues.
All right. Thank you so much.
Rodney, I'm sorry to interrupt. Ray had his hand up a little while ago. Ray, please feel free to hop on the mic.
I guess I hit that accidentally. I don't know. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, no problem. We don't want you to feel like we're disregarding you.
Absolutely.
Well, Ray, while we have you on, man, help
Yes,
me out
sir.
here with the second question. If you feel this educator meets the business rules for an SLO, let's say she does meet the business rules, right? What would you feel is the appropriate SLO approach and interval for them? Because they've already named the approach. They said it could be team or individual. What about interval? What interval would you say would be appropriate for this educator?
Mr. Evans, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is my first time doing all this. I spoke with my team about this as well. I'm ignorant to all this, so I'm brand new.
It's all right. We won't say you're ignorant to it.
I am just here to learn. So
I got you. Well, I'm gonna help you out. Let's say so
sir.
it's a first year teacher, right? And one
Yes,
thing
sir.
that we pointed out on an earlier slide is that a first year teacher could have that option to do the second semester SLO. So meaning that this educator may have not had the traditional experience and may need to support that first semester. It could be a good idea to allow this first year teacher to do the second semester SLO. And just shorten it to a semester. So somebody help me out with this last question here for the second.
We have Sheila's hand up. I'm not sure if she's ready to answer your next question or respond to something else.
I have a question too.
Go ahead.
My question, Mr. Evans, is, are you guys going to help me understand what a team SLO looks like? That's something completely unfamiliar to me.
Yes, ma'am. You're going to actually, during your work session, it's going to break down into the different types of SLOs. And if you still have any questions, then we'll make sure we answer your questions before we leave here today, because we will have some time. Matter of fact, we'll stick around after 10 for any questions that you may have, and we'll also be able to answer some questions this afternoon if your questions aren't answered during your work session.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And pretty much a team SLO is pretty much what it is. Like a grade level team could work on the same SLO.
That's good.
Okay. And an individual SLO would be just, one educator working on that one particular goal. Team SLO, it would be a shared goal. Others would share that same goal. All right. Let's look at the reading coach. Okay, the reading coach. This is a role where, we get calls all the time, should my reading coach work on SLO? She doesn't work with students. All right, so here we go. This is a SCDE endorsed reading coach who does not work directly with students. She supports the reading curriculum at the school level, conducts PD, and offers one-on-one support to first year reading teachers. What type of professional goal and development plan would you recommend for the reading coach, and why? And I'd like to hear from someone new, please.
Our group discussed having this reading coach actually complete an SLO that was in line with the school-wide goal, so that they would also be working on the goals similar to what the teachers are doing that they're working with.
Okay, now again, in order to be eligible for an SLO, the teacher would have to work consistently with 6 students throughout the SLO interval. So this educator wouldn't work with students at all.
Miss Rodney.
I'm sorry.
Rodney, this is Kara.
Yes, go ahead, Kara.
Yes, our team suggested the GBE since she doesn't have a consistent group of students that she or he would be working with. That the GBE might be the most appropriate professional.
Absolutely. And during your work time, you're going to actually look at the other option that you saw in the title of this training, which is the teacher leadership goal. That could be an option for this educator. And we'll actually debrief that section after your learning, after downloading and listening to that section during your work time. Let's look at the last question here. Would you involve this educator and at all in the SLO process at your school? And if so, how?
I think that person would be really helpful in making sure that the goals that the teacher set, if they're particularly, obviously, if they're focusing on reading growth, that person would be could be instrumental in trying to help them understand how to write a good goal and analyze the data to come up with the goal. So I think that would be an important role. And then that functioning in that capacity might be, you would have some bearing on how the teacher leadership goal would be set up, because his or her effectiveness in helping the teachers understand that and be able to write good goals for their SLO would be, I guess, a part of her goal.
Awesome.
Professional growth.
Good.
And
Thank
to
you.
piggyback on that, the reading coach could also provide strategies that could help those particular teachers with their particular goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We always believe that the answer's in the building. You have so many resources with your highly qualified staff that can really support you as the school leader in the SLO process. So I'm going to now share the slides, and we may extend a little past 10, but we won't hold you long. All right, so quickly, let's look at roles and responsibilities within the SLO process, starting with our office here at the State Department of Education. What we do, we create guidance documents outlining the purpose for writing SLOs and steps for implementation. We also provide training resources like we're doing today, and training and technical assistance to local school districts to assist them with implementing SLOs with fidelity. We also provide implementation tools and resources that we will share with you later. Your district, what is your district's role? To provide training and professional development to support successful SLO implementation at the school level, right? And to establish district-wide systems and guidance around SLOs, to establish a criteria for strong assessments, and then, of course, report the data to the state at the end of the year. And then on down to you all, school leaders. What is your role and responsibility within the SLO process? To review and approve SLO goals, ensuring that they are rigorous yet attainable. To conduct the recommended conferences, along with reviewing and scoring the SLO. And one thing that we just wanted to point out that you may not know, and a lot of people don't know, to be an SLO evaluator, you do not have to be SCTS 4.0 evaluator certified. So as you're building your evaluation teams, and we'll talk about that later, you're able to include some educators to support you even if they're not certified evaluators. And then teachers, their role is definitely to gather and analyze student baseline data, to collaborate with colleagues, to establish goals and collect data, of course, to write the SLO, to gather and analyze end of the cycle data, discuss and reflect on outcomes of the SLO with the evaluator to discuss the growth. All right. Also, the role of school leaders in supporting, ensuring that SLOs are high quality, is supporting teachers and writing those high quality SLOs like we stated. And you also play a key role in supporting implementation through coaching teachers, scheduling time for planning, vertical and horizontal planning, allowing that time for collaboration with your staff, staff development, school culture, data-driven and collaborative, and then working with the instructional coaches, like we mentioned already, to share resources and connect with teachers throughout this process. All right, so we have about 3 minutes. It may take me a little longer than that to make sure that you understand what we'll do, what you'll be doing during that time. Again, you'll have between 10 and 1 to complete work session 1, work session 2, and to also take your lunch. So in no certain order, it's up to you. You have it's at your discretion. So what you're going to do, and Faye is also going to drop a link to the landing page again. But you're going to download these slides. And again, you have to actually download the slides to be able to hear the pre-recording, okay? This section will cover the SLO cycle, its components, and the support items. So this is somebody had a question about the individual. I believe this section will briefly cover that. The types of SLOs. Here you're going to explore the Inclusive Learning Strategies document. And this was an addition and an update to last year's simplified SLO that we're going to continue with this year. You're also going to have the opportunity to explore the new teacher leadership goal, okay, that was mentioned to you. Explore that one pager, write down any questions that you may have that we can answer during the debrief session. You also have an activity called the SLO process. It should be school leader decisions. I'm sorry, it says district decisions on the slide. Please forgive me. But it should be school leader decisions worksheet in your participant packet, and it's on the resources page as well. And you'll just click on it to download it, and you'll complete that worksheet. And it's just kind of guiding your thinking around the entire process. Okay, so that's work session 1. Work session 2 is going to be pretty much the same as far as you downloading those slides, and it'll be labeled on the resources landing page. Work session 2. Download those slides, and this section will cover selecting assessments for SLOs, okay, identifying appropriate baseline data, and establishing the learning objective, okay, as a part of the development process. Again, please download those slides. To hear them, if you have any issues, you can email our logistics person, Faye Colley, and we'll ensure that we troubleshoot for you. During this time, you're going to also generate a list of appropriate assessments used in your school. So you're just going to jot down some assessments to have that data to debrief when we come back. Then you're also going to share examples of pre-assessments used for baseline data in your schools, whether it's data that you used when you were a teacher or data that you are familiar with that you've approved with prior teachers, with supporting them in the SLO process. But we want you all to share examples because we want you to be able to take this working document back to your school so you'll have ideas that you can use in your schools for pre-assessment data for that baseline data. And then lastly, you'll have a learning objective activity that you'll complete, and we'll debrief these activities when we come back whole group. So again, these are your directions for work session 1, work session 2. I believe Faye is going to drop the link if she hasn't already to the resource landing page. All of the documents and slides are there available for you. We will also hang around here for 10 to 15 minutes for any questions that you may have that we haven't answered yet, or for any guidance on your work session. Again, you have until 1:00 p.m. and we'll take any questions at this time. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to go ahead and log off, and you can go ahead and start your asynchronous time.
Rodney, just adding the link again to the landing page is already in the chat, and they might see